January 29th, 2017. Fourth Sunday in Ordinary Time.
A reading from the book of the prophet Zephaniah. Seek the Lord, all you humble of the earth, who have observed his law. Seek justice, seek humility. Perhaps you may be sheltered on the day of the Lord's anger. But I will leave as a remnant in your midst a people humble and lowly, who shall take refuge in the name of the Lord, the remnant of Israel. They shall do no wrong and speak no lies, nor shall there be found in their mouths a deceitful tongue. They shall pasture and couch their flocks, with none to disturb them. The word of the Lord.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Blessed are the poor in spirit, the kingdom of heaven is theirs. The Lord keeps faith forever, secures justice for the oppressed, gives food to the hungry. The Lord sets captives free. Blessed are the poor in spirit, the kingdom of heaven is theirs. The Lord gives sight to the blind. The Lord raises up those who were bowed down. The Lord loves the just. The Lord protects strangers. Blessed are the poor in spirit, the kingdom of heaven is theirs. The fatherless and the widow the Lord sustains, but the way of the wicked he thwarts. The Lord shall reign forever, your God, O Zion, through all generations. Alleluia. Blessed are the poor in spirit, the kingdom of heaven is theirs.
A reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Consider your own calling, brothers and sisters. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were powerful. Not many were of noble birth. Rather, God chose the foolish of the world to shame the wise. And God chose the weak of the world to shame the strong. And God chose the lowly and despised of the world, those who count for nothing, to reduce to nothing those who are something, so that no human being might boast before God. It is due to him that you are in Christ Jesus, who became for us wisdom from God, as well as righteousness, sanctification, and redemption, so that, as it is written, whoever boasts should boast in the Lord. The word of the Lord.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he had sat down, his disciples came to him. He began to teach them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the clean of heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are they who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you, and utter every kind of evil against you falsely because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven. The Gospel of the Lord.
January 29th, the fourth Sunday in Ordinary Time. The first reading comes from Zephaniah the prophet, chapter 2, verse 3, and chapter 3, verses 12 to 13. The humble of the earth are exhorted to seek the Lord, to observe His law. And in fact, God will choose a remnant from the people, a small group who will remain faithful and who will do no wrong, who will tell the truth. This idea of a remnant is an idea that develops throughout the era of the prophets, that if God can't save everybody, He'll at least choose a small group that are faithful to His law, and they will give birth to a reawakening of the people of Israel. The second reading is from 1 Corinthians 1, 26 to 31. Paul has a difficulty in this community because some people are filled with arrogance. They think they have a special revelation. And so what does Paul respond? Look at yourself. Not many of you are rich, not many are wise, not many are powerful. In fact, who were the first Christians to convert? The riffraff, slaves, the poor. Because they were the Anawim. They were the ones who had nowhere else to go. The rich were self-satisfied. They didn't need Jesus and His message. The poor were the ones who really needed that message. And so Paul proclaimed the wisdom of Christ, which is the wisdom of the cross. It's a wisdom of humility, of service, of gentleness, not a wisdom of gaining control and getting rich. We continue to hear that same proclamation in the Gospel, Matthew 5, 1 to 12a. This is part of the Sermon on the Mount, and the Sermon on the Mount takes place on a mountain in the Gospel of Matthew for a reason. Jesus is considered the new Moses, as the old Moses was endangered by an evil king, Pharaoh, in Egypt, so the new Moses is endangered by an evil king, Herod, and ends up going to Egypt. As the old Moses fasted 40 days on the mountain, Jesus fasts 40 days in the desert. And the old Moses received the law of Israel on a mountain, so the new Moses will proclaim the new law of Israel on a mountain. This law, though, is unlike the first law. The first law was prescriptions, do's and don'ts. And people sometimes did the absolute minimum necessary. This law, the Beatitudes, call for generosity. This law is very similar to a Jewish form of teaching, in which you present the ideal, knowing full well the person will never reach the ideal, but as long as they have the ideal as the goal, they get closer every day of their lives. There are 8 Beatitudes, which is unlike the Gospel of Luke, where there are 4 Beatitudes and 4 curses. Luke is probably a bit more original. That's a typical Jewish way of teaching, blessings and curses. Matthew was probably a little bit more elaborated. And Luke is more physical. Blessed are the poor. Matthew more spiritual. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Now, why would you be blessed if you're poor in spirit? Poor in spirit means humble. Yet they're not arrogant like the Pharisees. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn. Why would a person who mourns be blessed? Because the person who's mourning realizes that they need comfort, they need consolation, and they will reach out to Jesus when He approaches them. Blessed are the meek. Now that's very odd, because in our world we consider power and riches to be the ones who will inherit the land. But instead it's the meek, because in their gentleness they will conquer with love. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. The word righteousness in Hebrew is tzaddik, and normally it means to keep the law to the letter. But in the Gospel of Matthew it's redefined as compassion. Remember, Joseph is a man who's righteous, and he takes Mary and the child and takes care of them. The sheep are righteous, while the goats are not, in the separation of the sheep and the goats. Blessed are the merciful, for they will obtain mercy. The measure with which you measure will be measured back to you. Blessed are the pure of heart. Remember, the heart is where you think. If you're pure of heart, you're single-minded. If you're always thinking of God, of course you're going to see the presence of God, because you're always thinking about God. Blessed are the peacemakers. They'll be called children of God. I think of the end of the letter to the Philippians, where Paul speaks about a difficulty between two ladies in the community, Euodia and Syntyche, and he encourages the community to help them to get along. Instead of reinforcing the distance between them, we should work to make things better. And blessed are those who are persecuted, who are insulted, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That when we suffer for the sake of the gospel, whether it be the suffering the martyrdom of being thrown in prison, or the simple everyday martyrdom of living a countercultural lifestyle, which is measured by the values of the gospel, something that people don't normally accept. Whatever persecution we suffer, if we suffer for the sake of the gospel, then we're already living in the kingdom, because we're already living in God's message. We're living as brothers and sisters of Jesus. And may God bless us.